So you've got some spare money each month, but do you put it into a pension or into an ISA? It's a question that I've pondered a lot over the years, and admittedly, it's a very personal choice based on your own personal circumstances and financial goals. So in light of that, today we'll talk about some of the things that are worthwhile considering, from contributions to flexibility to tax implications and much more. I'll also shed a little bit of light on what I do with my own personal ISAs and pension. Just off the bat though, this video is sponsored by Lightyear, but more on them a little bit later on in the video. Do also remember that this video is for educational purposes only and is not financial advice. Nothing within this video is an investment recommendation. Always do your own research, and when investing, your capital is at risk. So as many of you already know, there are 4 different types of individual savings accounts, where everybody has a £20,000 allowance, which can be shared across these accounts. With the exception of the Lifetime ISA, which is capped at £4,000, where the tax year runs from the 6th of April to the 5th of April. Now you may find that all of these individual accounts have their unique individual benefits that may in some way contribute to your retirement goals, like holding cash savings in a cash ISA for security, or making the most of the 25% government bonus for maxing out the LISA. But today I wanted to do a little bit more of a comparison between the pension and admittedly my favourite ISA account, which is the stocks ISA. The reason why I wanted to compare these 2 specific types of accounts is because the stocks ISA is an investment account, similar to that of a pension in a way, where you put your money into that account, invest it in assets, in the hope that over the long run it allows you to reach your desired financial targets. So now let's touch a little bit more on pensions. Typically there are 2 different types of pensions. You have a defined contribution scheme and a defined benefit scheme. Now the defined benefit scheme is sometimes what people have within the public sector. These are usually called final salary pensions or gold-plated pensions, where the money that you get in retirement is based on your salary and the number of years that you've been in the scheme for. Whereas if you work in the private sector, most of the time it's a defined contribution scheme, whereby you and your employer contribute to that pension, and the performance of those contributions will dictate the future value of your pension pot. Now pensions are certainly a complex topic, and whilst I'll be sharing some high-level information today, if you do need any kind of personalised information or more technical information about your specific pension, then I certainly recommend getting in touch with a financial advisor. I'll also leave some links down in the description below to some of the helpful articles that I found that have helped me create this video. So now let's begin comparing the stocks ISA versus the pension. For the stocks ISA, as many of you know, this is a tax-free investment account, meaning that you are exempt from paying any tax on capital gains or dividends, meaning you can withdraw all of your money from your ISA completely tax-free regardless of any of the gains that you've made. However, there is no additional tax relief from putting money into the ISA because you've already paid income tax and national insurance on that money that you're able to put in. As we've said, the amount that you can pay in is up to £20,000 per tax year, but remember that allowance is shared across all of your different ISA accounts. It's entirely up to you though in terms of how you decide to allocate it. Defined contribution pensions though, there are equally many tax benefits that are very advantageous. Now let me just say on this part that not all employers are the same, and you may have your own benefits based on your own individual pay packet, but the requirements as it's stated on the government website is that if you pay in 5% towards your pension, your employer will top it up by an additional 3%, taking your total contributions to 8% of your salary each month. Plus, the government give you tax relief on these contributions too. Let me explain exactly how this works with a worked example. Let's say that you had a salary of £40,000. You would contribute £166.67, with £33.33 in tax relief from the government. Then your employer would contribute an additional £100. Taking your monthly contributions to £266.67. I've used the Money Helper calculator in order to calculate this example, and I'll leave a link to that down in the description below so you can plug in your own numbers and kind of work out what your own employer contributions would be based on your contributions that you're making. Now some higher earners, those who are particularly entering into the 60% tax trap, can also make additional pension contributions to reduce their taxable income. You can withdraw 25% of your pension's value completely tax-free at age 55. However, do bear in mind that this is going up to age 57 from the 2028 tax year. If you're a limited company director like myself, then your pension contributions into your SIPP are also an allowable business expense, and therefore can reduce your corporation tax bill at the end of your financial year. This is certainly something that I've looked to take advantage of since running my own business in order to get a little bit more tax relief too, whilst also contributing to my pension and ultimately my future. And you can pay in £60,000 per year or 100% of your salary, depending on which is greatest. Now, before we dive into the next category, I wanted to introduce you guys to today's video sponsor, which is Lightyear. Lightyear is an investing platform that allows you to start investing with their choice of over 5,000 stocks and a world of ETFs that are available. Lightyear has a collection of accounts from the Stocks ISA, Cash ISA, General Investment Account, and Business Accounts, where in each of these you can earn interest through vaults, where your cash is invested in low-risk money market funds. These of course still carry their associated risks, which you should be aware of. I'm currently using the Lightyear Business Account, which has most of the same functionality as the Stocks ISA. Whereby in the Stocks ISA you can now buy shares in both stocks and ETFs, commission-free, to build an investment portfolio that meets your needs. Do note though that other fees like fund manager fees and conversion fees still apply though. Now, to help you guys get started, Lightyear have kindly offered all of my subscribers one free US share valued up to £100 when you open an account by clicking on the link down in the description below. Or if you enter the promo code Mitch, you'll still be able to claim that one free share valued up to £100 once you've completed onboarding and deposited £100 into your account. Please remember though that investing involves risk and the value of your investments can go up as well as down, and thanks again to Lightyear for sponsoring this video. One of the main benefits that I see from using a Stocks ISA is that I can access that money as and when I see fit. If I'm lucky enough to say I want to pack in work at age 50, then I can utilise the value within my Stocks ISA to live off the value of it, or even perhaps live off the dividends that I'm receiving. Or just even forgetting about retirement for a second because it's a very long way away. If I just wanted to take that money out tomorrow, then I absolutely could do. Which obviously gives me an element of peace of mind knowing that I can access that money at any point in time, and obviously knowing that it's not locked up for many decades into the future. Whereas of course with the pension, you can't have that money until age 55. And actually if you were born after the 6th of April 1971, well, unfortunately for all of you guys, it's age 57 as the rules stand. This, in my opinion, is one of the problems with pensions, in that the government can change the goalposts as and when they want to, moving that minimum pension age higher and higher. And I guess it's possible that the pension age could rise again, especially within my lifetime, especially as the Employment Task Force is already calling the government to increase the percentage of people in employment over the age of 50. This work behind the scenes doesn't exactly call for early retirement for the bulk of us. It's one of the reasons why I use both the Stocks ISA and the pension, because if I do want to retire by a specific age, then I can use the value within my Stocks ISA to kind of bridge the gap between my retirement age and then the minimum pension age, where I can access my pension. Now, depending on how you see things, the way I see things is that one of the benefits of the Stocks ISA over that of the pension is the flexibility that you have in the choice of investments that you can make. Now, many workplace pensions are invested in default pension schemes, and there can be some issues with that. There was some research done by the Tax Incentivized Savings Association in 2019, who found that the largest pension providers' default funds delivered returns ranging from 3.4% to 11.9% between 2016 and 2019. To demonstrate why this could be an issue in monetary terms, if you say had a salary of £30,000 per year and you invested it into the pension fund growing at an annual growth rate of 3.4%, this fund would be valued at £153,600 after 50 years. Comparatively, if someone on the same salary had invested into a different pension fund returning 11.9% per year, their fund would be valued at £2,271,200 over the same time period. 20 times more money from simply using a different pension provider, most of the time of which you don't get a choice in the matter. On a similar note, some more recent research from Investing Insiders, which was published by the FT, found that in 2024, 90% of pension funds underperformed their standard benchmarks, with many providers delivering extremely poor returns over the prior 5 years. This is where it's really important to understand what your pension contributions are being invested into, And if those contributions aren't meeting your desired financial objectives, then it might be time to make a change. And a financial advisor will be able to give you a better steer on this. In contrast though, a stocks ISA is all under your control, where you get to select the investments. Of course, this is great if you know what you're doing, and I'd always suggest doing your own research before you go on to select any investments. But nonetheless, it can be a great way to grow the value of your money over time, especially if you've selected the right investments along the way. For me, I mostly invest in exchange traded funds, which is simply a collection of well-diversified stocks, which keeps my investment portfolio simple and simply allows me to passively invest every single month. With a pension, there is always the risk that you outlive the savings that you've generated over your working lifetime. However, a financial advisor will be able to help you manage that money in order to ensure that that doesn't happen. You also have the policy and regulatory risks where, as we've touched upon, the government can simply change the goalposts, like they have done with minimum pension ages and the inheritance tax treatment on pensions, which comes into place in 2027, where pensions are now no longer exempt from inheritance tax. Whereas with the stocks ISA, there is, behavioural risk that you may be enticed to keep buying and selling different shares within your investment portfolio, which could actually hinder the long-term performance of it. Or there's even a risk that you end up dipping into some of that money in your stocks ISA and withdrawing it when it's meant to be used for saving for the long term. This really does depend on your own personal circumstances and how well equipped you feel in order to be able to do things on your own. Pensions, for the most part, once they're set up and you've selected a fund of your choice, require very little effort in order to be able to manage. After all, you're paying fees to a pension manager in order to be able to manage those investments on your behalf. Whereas if you go down the route of also using a stocks ISA, then there is a lot more effort required to manage your own portfolio, because you'll need to research and understand your investments. You may even decide to rebalance your investment portfolio every so often, and you may even need to change your investments based on your evolving risk appetite as you go throughout the decades. Essentially, with a stocks ISA, you become your own portfolio manager, which I would argue requires a little bit more effort than simply contributing to a pension. So that's an objective comparison. For me, it's not a case of one or the other. It's a case where, for me personally, I utilise the benefits of both in order to help contribute towards my overall long-term financial goals. Now, if you are using an ISA, it's important that you avoid these 9 common mistakes. So I'll leave a link to that video next for you to check out. With that being said, see you over in the next one.